ever since I was a little tyke, I made myself a list of resolutions I was going to live by in my life. About a dozen of them. I'll just mention a few. One of them was, do not work at a job or a career that you do not enjoy. Pretty straightforward, simple. I'll just mention one other one. I was never going to have a comb-over. What? A comb-over. Eventually, I knew that someday I might lose hair, as is happening now. But I knew I wasn't going to have a comb-over, which means grow your hair out, a foot out, flop it over the bald head, and then pretend nobody notices. But let me go back. I digress. Let's talk about the job situation. I have had many, many occupations in my life. Why? Because I looked at the 40 years ahead of me, and I realized that I had a couple of options. Some people opted to work 40 years in the same career, some in the same company, get a gold watch, retire, and then hopefully go and enjoy life. But statistics were against them. Let me explain. Statistically, 1/3 of the people die way before retirement. 1/3 of the people die just after retirement. That leaves only 1/3 of the people to hopefully enjoy life. But what have they done, most of them? They have eaten junk food and meat all their life, and now they're too weak and sickly to go enjoy anything. So I decided, enjoy life first of all. Play for 40 years. My training was in psychology and religion, and I worked in those fields for a couple of years. I worked at Fort Logan Mental Health Hospital in Denver, Colorado, the biggest nut house in the state of Colorado. For a while it was enjoyable, but eventually I started getting into trouble with the supervisors because of purple fingerprints. Let me explain. What had happened was that when the big, violent people got really nasty, the nurses would ask me for protection. So I had to tackle these big, burly guys, fold them down on the floor, hold them in their prescribed position, sometimes for hours until they calmed down. Where the problem happened is the next day when they were being examined, they had my purple fingerprints on their wrists from the day before. So I said, forget that. Started looking for another job. Saw an ad in the paper and said, wanted, a few good men. I went down to that interview, and before that interview was over, by golly, I have signed away 6 years of my life to the Marine Corps. Oh yeah, buddy. But I have learned two very useful civilian skills from the Marine Corps. How to kill people and destroy things. Oh yeah. Having had many, many occupations, I went through a few interviews, of course. I was in this one interview, and it became evident that I wasn't working for this company. But the guy was talking like I was already hired. He was really excited. And I was thinking, how do I even back out of this thing? So I said, okay, let me ask you a question. If I was driving at the speed of light, and I turn on my headlights, what would happen? He goes, I don't know. I said, well, there you go. Then how can I work for you? So in my life, I've been many, many things. I've been a real estate investor. I've been a dance instructor. I've been an escort. I've been an electrician. Stop it, not that kind of escort. No. Let me explain. What had happened one time, there was a huge wedding. A big Jewish family was having a huge wedding, and this young lady was invited to that wedding with the rest of the family. The only problem was she was a lesbian that has not yet come out of the closet. Her family didn't know. So she had to show up at the wedding with something of a boyfriend. That's where I come in. I actually had to memorize a whole script of when, how, and where we met, when, how, where we got engaged, how many children we were going to have, and where we were going to live when we got married. Came in very handy at the reception because I was grilled by that family. Her mother wanted to make sure I was going to give her grandchildren and that I had a good enough profession to provide for that family. Wow. Oh yeah. I have 1,000 stories. I'll just mention one more. As a mover, this is unbelievable to me. The people who are otherwise very intelligent, they have nice homes, nice furniture, but they hire a mover to move them. And this kept happening again and again with different people. I couldn't believe my eyes. Here's what people would do. You go into a home, and often not everything goes. Sometimes certain items are left behind for relatives or whatever reason. So you go into a room with a customer and you say, okay, what from this room has to go? And I guarantee you this is what they do. This goes, and this goes, and this goes. They actually run around the room and touch everything. And this goes, and this goes, and I said, okay, after 2 minutes of this goes and this goes, I said, okay, what in this room is not going? And they said, oh, well, everything has to go. This happens again and again. It's unbelievable. So, after many adventures of this type, I got 1,000 stories. The moving industry alone could fill up 4 hours. I could be in some cubicle, punching buttons on a computer, probably making a lot more money than I'm making, but this way I have more adventures and more stories to tell. So I say, just play for 40 years.